The sun had barely risen when James White opened his eyes that Monday. The small apartment, a studio with peeling walls in the city's suburb, was immersed in the morning silence. Beside him, Lisa was breathing with difficulty, even during sleep. The medications for fibromyalgia no longer had the effect they should, and their tight budget did not allow for more effective alternatives. James slid out of bed carefully to avoid waking his wife. At 38, his body carried the fatigue of someone older. Deep dark circles framed eyes that no longer shone as they once did. He observed Lisa's face for a moment. Even ill, she maintained that serenity that had conquered him 12 years ago when they met. "It will be all right," he whispered to himself as he walked to the cramped kitchen. The coffee was dripping slowly through the faded cloth filter when the phone vibrated. It was Marcus, his new boss at the express delivery company where he had started working just 3 weeks ago. "James, I need you to pick up an envelope at the headquarters now and take it to the main office on Main Avenue. It's urgent. Meeting at 8:30 a.m. It can't be late. This is your chance to prove yourself." James's stomach tightened. That job represented his last hope after 6 months of unemployment. Since the small bookstore where he worked closed its doors, his life had become a roller coaster of overdue bills and promises of, "Next week I'll pay everything." The latest rent increase had been the last straw, 30% more, while his current salary barely covered Lisa's medication expenses. He gulped down his coffee in a hurry, leaving the full mug on the sink. He put on the company uniform, a blue t-shirt with the Express Now logo printed on the back, and grabbed the keys to the motorbike, an almost 15-year-old bike bought second-hand when they still had some financial reserves. "I'm leaving," he said quietly, adjusting the blanket over Lisa. She opened her eyes for a moment. "Be careful," she murmured sleepily. "I love you." "I love you too. Rest." Upon reaching the small courtyard of the housing complex, James put on his helmet and tried to start the motorcycle. The engine failed, coughing like an old cold. On the second attempt, the helmet slipped from his lap and hit the ground, scratching the already worn visor. "Perfect," he muttered, tasting the bitter taste of irritation. Simply perfect. After 3 attempts, the motorcycle finally roared to life with an irregular rumble. James sped down the still empty avenue, trying to make up time. The cold morning air cut across his face through the gaps in his helmet, but he barely felt it. His mind was focused on work, on the need to prove his worth. At the company's headquarters, a receptionist with a bored look handed him a sealed brown envelope. "Mr. Thompson is expecting this for the 8:30 meeting," she informed dryly. "If you're late, I'm sorry to say you'll be fired." She rolled her eyes, as if witnessing similar threats daily. James pressed the envelope against his chest and hurried out. The clock read 8:05 a.m. and the traffic was starting to get heavy. He felt beads of sweat running down his back as he zigzagged between cars, ignoring honks and irritated looks. The office building, a glass tower reflecting the cloudy sky, finally appeared in front of him. James parked the motorcycle haphazardly in the designated space for motorcycles and dashed to the entrance, running his fingers through his hair, trying to appear at least somewhat presentable. The revolving glass door gleamed in front of him when something, or someone, interrupted his run. A firm hand grabbed his arm, gently pulling him to the side. James turned, ready to protest, when he saw a woman of approximately 50 years old, with grey hair tied in a simple bun and round glasses framing intense brown eyes. "Don't go now," she said, with a calm but determined voice. James pulled his arm, annoyed by the interruption. "Hey, lady. I'm late, okay? Isn't the day I'm having enough?" Something in her gaze, however, made him hesitate. It wasn't the look of someone unbalanced or confused as he initially thought. There was a calm, almost unsettling certainty in those eyes. "Just wait a minute. There's a strange man entering that building," she insisted more softly. "Please." Sighing with impatience, James took a few steps to the side, pretending to answer a call on his phone. He checked the clock. 8:23, 7 minutes to the meeting. His heart was racing. What am I doing? He thought, considering ignoring the stranger and going on his way. But something kept him there, standing still, as if his feet had rooted themselves to the concrete of the sidewalk. That's when chaos ensued. A sharp scream pierced the air, followed by altered voices. People began to run out of the building, faces contorted in expressions of panic. James heard 3 deafening bangs that he immediately recognized as gunshots. Security appeared, running towards the doors, quickly locking them. "Armed robber in the main lobby!" someone shouted. "The police are on their way!" James felt a chill run down his spine. His hands began to tremble, the envelope almost slipping from his sweaty fingers. He looked around, searching for the grey-haired woman, but she had vanished, no sign of her on the sidewalk or nearby. When the police arrived and the situation was under control, James remained seated on the curb, trying to process what had happened. An elderly security guard named Ernest approached him with a glass of water. "Are you okay, young man? You look like you've seen a ghost." James accepted the water, sipping it in small gulps. "A woman. She stopped me from going in," he explained with a trembling voice, as if she knew what was going to happen. The security guard furrowed his brow, thoughtful. "Tall, with grey hair, round glasses?" James nodded, surprised. "That's Mrs. Clara. She has been working at the bookstore on the corner for years. She had already warned management about a suspicious man hanging around the building in recent weeks. No one listened, not even when she went to the police station." Ernest sighed. "She has a good eye for this kind of thing. She has avoided trouble on other occasions, but no one listened to her this time." "But how did she know that I—" The security guard shrugged. "Some call it intuition, others something else. Whatever it is, be grateful you listened." That afternoon, after explaining the incident to his boss, who surprisingly was understanding, James returned home with a strange feeling in his chest. It was not just the relief of having escaped danger. It was something deeper, as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a dimension of life that he had forgotten. Sitting on the torn sofa of the studio apartment, with Lisa asleep after taking her medication, James allowed himself to remember his childhood. His grandmother kneeling in his room, the whispered prayers when there was only rice on the plate for 5 people. He recalled how, at 10 years old, he would close his eyes before each meal and sincerely give thanks, without questioning to whom he was speaking or if he was being heard. The childlike certainty that there was an invisible hand guiding the events, protecting him even in the worst circumstances. When exactly had he lost that faith? Gradually, perhaps. With each unpaid bill, each broken promise, each worse diagnosis for Lisa. Life had made him cynical, skeptical, focused only on surviving day by day. That night, unable to sleep, James went out onto the small balcony of the apartment. The starry sky seemed brighter, closer. He felt a gentle breeze touch his face like a tender caress. And then, without elaborate words or rituals, he just looked at the sky and gave thanks. For being alive. For having Lisa by his side. For being stopped on that sidewalk by a stranger who somehow knew he needed to wait. In the following days, James began to notice small changes in himself. He woke up more energized, smiled at strangers on the bus, left tips at the corner cafe even when he scarcely had enough for himself. And he proved to be someone very dear to everyone at his workplace. And, most importantly, he started thanking again, not just in good times but also in times of difficulty. A month after the incident at the commercial building, James was called into Mr. Marcus's office, the owner of the delivery company where he worked as a motorcycle courier. "James, come in here for a moment," said Marcus, with a restrained smile. James entered, a little surprised. He was usually only called there to solve problems with routes or deliveries. But the boss's demeanour was different that day. "I wanted to tell you that I've been observing your work for a while. You are punctual, careful, respectful with colleagues and clients. You never arrive late, never complain, and handle any unexpected situation with calmness. That means a lot." James nodded, shy. He always thought he was just doing his duty. Furthermore, continued Marcus, what you did in that building, on the day of the robbery, I learned that you stayed there, helped people, and returned afterward to check if they were okay. It wasn't your responsibility, but you did it, and that only confirmed what I already thought. James remained silent, his heart racing. We are expanding the internal logistics department, and we need someone like you in there. It's a permanent position, with fixed hours, a formal contract and family health insurance. The words family health insurance made James's heart beat faster. He thought of Lisa, of medical exams, of dignity. But why me? He asked sincerely. There are people with more education, more experience. Marcus smiled, with the confidence of someone who bets correctly. Experience is something we acquire. What you have, James, is the kind of thing that can't be taught. Responsibility, character, humanity. And lately, everyone here has been talking about how you've changed. You're lighter, more present. That's what I want on my team. James left the room with a smile that barely fit on his face. He felt light, as he hadn't felt in a long time. He was happy. He was grateful for everything he had experienced up to that point. When he thought all was lost, life surprised him with a breath of hope. That night, when he shared the news with Lisa, James saw something he hadn't seen in a long time, hope in her eyes. She held his hands tightly. It's as if everything is falling into place, he murmured. As if someone is watching over us, James completed, feeling a calm certainty take over his chest. Life hadn't suddenly become perfect. The apartment was still too small, the bills kept coming, and Lisa still had bad days with her illness. But a new perspective had been born. The understanding that amid the apparent chaos, there was a silent order at work, connecting people and events in an invisible web of purpose. On an ordinary day, after a hard day's work in his new role in the logistics department, he went out into the street and looked at the clear sky that afternoon. He felt small in the face of the vastness, but not insignificant. On the contrary, he felt part of something greater, connected to an invisible network that supported and guided every step, every encounter, every seeming coincidence. On that ordinary morning, a delay that seemed like a tragedy had turned out to be protection. A stranger who seemed inconvenient had proven to be a guardian angel in disguise. And the one who had lost faith rediscovered that, even when we forget to look up, something keeps watching over us. James White returned home with a light step, carrying not only the fresh bread he had bought for dinner, but also the certainty that, even on the darkest days, a silent light continues to illuminate the path. We just need to have eyes to see, and a heart to believe. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.